Ladies and gentlemen, the market is on fire. Prices are going up and up and up.
But are you having appraisal issues?
Ooh. Hello everybody, my name is Barry Horvath and this is Moving Forward TV with your local market update.
And I am DeLynn Gaston. Thank you so much for joining us today. So on today's show, yes, we are going to be talking about the market on fire. Everybody already knows that though.
Well, everybody doesn't know why exactly maybe it's on fire.
I know. Why is it on fire?
I'm going to tell you.
I don't know. Rates are low.
Yeah.
That makes it hot.
Interest rates are crazy low, so that's giving people more buying power and reducing their monthly payment. So it's a huge difference. And then of course limited inventory. It's always a supply and demand thing. So when you have low inventory and
that's when everybody wants to buy.
Did you know in Pasco County we have 15,000 new people per year moving into the county? When you have 15,000 new people moving into an area and then you're only building about 49 new homes, because that's the number of permits are pulled, obviously the numbers don't work. So those roughly 10,000 people are looking for homes that don't exist. So, you know, it's the age-old problem of inventory. So
if you're considering selling your house, it is a good time.
You know what? It is a great time.
It's a great time. If you are considering selling your home, some people were moving back up north or whatever it may be. As we know, 1,000 people a day move in, not sure to the state of Florida, not sure how many move out. But with all of what's going on, with the prices going up and up and up, the point that we want to make today is be reasonable. Be reasonable if you are going to list your house for sale. Be reasonable with what you list it for. Just because the market is on fire and it's going up and up, like Barry had said to me earlier, doesn't mean that every single buyer out there is a cash buyer. And if you don't have a cash buyer, that means the person is getting a loan on their house. And when they're getting a loan, an appraisal has to be done. And what we're finding, and this is industry-wide, several of the lenders in the area we have talked and things like that, appraisals aren't coming in. I'm sure you, as the real estate partners out there watching, you've realized it too.
And our buyers that are watching, you know what? The one thing people have to remember is the laws that came into place back in, what year was it? Was it 2011? When the Appraisals Act came in.
Yes.
So we don't get to pick the appraiser. While we get to add them to our AMC, that portal randomly picks which appraisal is going to do the job. So you really can't get mad at your lender to say, you know, hey, your appraisers suck.
Right.
Well, and they may.
Right.
You know, I mean, we've actually kicked some appraisers off our list, and you know who you are. Sorry, I know you still watch our show. And not necessarily because, you know, oh, they didn't get us the value you want, but this, you know, it's like 2004, we used to be able to pick up the phone, call the appraiser and say, hey, I need $200 for this, can you do it? Oh yeah, I get you that all day. Go ahead and send me the order. And if he didn't say yes, you would call the next appraiser. And I think what happens now when people are listing their property is they interview different listing agents, and that agent says, I'll get you this much. When the other agent says, well, I'll get you this much because they're more reasonable. And you know what? At the end of the day, folks, that house must appraise. I mean, realtors can get you that purchase price because the market's so hot, but if it doesn't appraise, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to drop your price. So work with an agent that's going to intelligently list your property at the fair market price. So
exactly. Just because somebody says that this is a higher price or whatever, don't always go with the highest price because it might not appraise out.
Exactly. All right, so we have, because of all the things going on with the appraisal market and values not coming in, we decided we needed a power guest today. So we're bringing them one on right now. We're going to bring in a local appraiser that's out there in the market. And look,
And look, she's on her way to an appraisal.
Gosh,
she is in her car.
Look at we have Kara with us. And Kara, I know you got married, so...
This is Kara Christensen.
You know, Kara Christensen. I still want to call you Kara Sedlak, so...
I know.
But that's
Hubby would not like that,
No,
and he
I
is
know.
way bigger than you.
He's a big, and he's a good dude too. So we don't want to disrespect him. So, but Kara looks like she's on her way to her next job already, because I know the appraisers they're taking a long time right now for appraisal orders because they're so busy. And Kara, what do you see going on out there? I mean, not meaning on the road where you're driving, but in the market. What are you busy? What's going on?
Yes. Definitely busier than I have ever seen it. I mean, I'm booked way weeks out that I've ever been, and I'm like, there's no way they're going to prove my turnaround time, and they are. And I'm also finding that I'm having individual people call me because the AMC can't even find an appraiser to get to them sooner, and people are just scrambling because, like, why is it taking so long? And it's just because we're so busy, and you know, we can only do so many, and it's just really overwhelming right now.
And as far as people who are, you were telling me one day about people being a little overpriced on their houses, a little, shall I say?
Yes, it's funny because I've spoken to a few appraisers, and we all are getting very nervous, and we're all, you know, gosh, Kara, you know, I've had several not meet contract this week, which, you know, we don't like that. We like to be able to justify value, but they're far off and they're really stretching. And of course, you know, we hear that there's a bidding war, and we've had, 10 offers, and, the buyers are playing that game, and sometimes those buyers are hoping the appraisal doesn't even come out. So, I mean, I understand that, it's like a twofold. You want the appraisal to come out at the same time. Sometimes the buyer hopes that it doesn't because they think it's priced too high, and they're all waiting on the appraiser. There's lots of offers coming in, obviously, and people are expecting time adjustments, which is very opinionated, and that's another topic. But
that's a whole nother show.
Yeah. But definitely, I've even had homeowners. I've had a lot of calls in the last month questioning me about appraisals. Just homeowners call me, ask me questions, or, hey, they just had an appraisal done, and they don't, it's real low, and they already knew it was overpriced, but they didn't expect the appraisal to be way under than, their list price. So, and they were actually hoping that I could give them an appraisal and they can give it to their new buyer.
Well, you know what, people need to understand the laws, and we just talked about that the appraisal has to be ordered through an AMC, through a portal, and you can't hand that appraisal over to someone else and say, here, use this one. It doesn't work that way, but I think a lot of consumers are uneducated. I'm surprised at how many realtors don't even know that, and they're like, well, who are you ordering the appraisal from? We don't know. We hope that Kara does all of our appraisals, but it doesn't always work out that way, right? So
right.
She does lots of them, though. That's good.
I totally agree, and I totally agree what you said with the whole, I think sometimes when those agents get the listing, they're just trying to get the deal. So maybe they offer, hey, I'll list for this much, and I'll get it, I'll get this much for it, and which is just another, marketing thing. But as far as value goes, I don't know how, they're justifying their listing price. And sometimes I don't even know how in the world they're coming up with it, which, I don't know if it's pressure by seller or what it is.
I can remember back in the crazy heydays, which is what we're all, like you said, you're talking to other appraisers, we're talking to other lenders and such. Everybody's getting a little bit nervous about how quickly the market is going up. And it's kind of reminding us of the 2005, 2006 era when things were going up. And I mean, comps were changing like every 30 minutes. It was nuts, right? Because so many houses were being sold. It was almost impossible for appraisers to keep up with the newest and latest comp. Are you seeing that start to happen again?
Yes, I mean, definitely as far as, there's just not a lot of, listings, which is kind of hurting us. And there's lots of sales, which I think that's kind of an issue too, because you see that big fluctuation of value where you have like all these sales and there's some of the low end or some of the high end. And, and lenders want fair market value. It's not the most highest probable price. It's the most probable price. So, back in the day, it was the highest price a project could sell for. So if you had one comparable that sold super high, well, if that property sold at high, then my subject can too. It's not like that anymore. It's not the highest; it's the most probable. So, I think that's also
Uh-oh. Kira's in a spot, I think.
They're just gambling. I think.
Uh-oh, she's freezing up on
Uh-oh.
us, so we'll keep looking for that connection to come back. So.
Oh no!
Well,
wait,
now we hear
wait.
you.
I
We
hear you.
So.
Are you still there?
You
Okay,
know what?
good. She's back. There she is. Yay!
I have to tell you, Kara, one of the biggest things, and I think this is a myth out there, is people are afraid, and I tell people, FHA. Oh, we can't go FHA because the appraisal won't come in. And we've had listing agents say, no, we're not accepting FHA buyers. And, FHA has certain criteria on the lending side that may fit better for the buyer. And I try to explain to the listing agent, the value is the value. Whether it's FHA or conventional, it doesn't really matter on the value. Can you elaborate on that, the differences on the appraisal?
I hear that too, and you're right. The value should be the same. The value should be.
Okay. All right. So we've lost.
Darn.
We've lost
Should
our.
be the same, or really close.
All right. Kara keeps
All right,
cutting in
yeah.
and out. She's
driving.
She's in a bad zone there, but.
But the point that she was saying is that it doesn't make a difference whether whether the buyer is going with a conventional loan, an FHA loan, a VA loan, a USD DA loan. It doesn't make a difference what kind of loan they're going with. The value is the value. The home is going to appraise at what it's going to appraise at. The type of loan product the buyer is going with has nothing to do with what the value of the home is.
Yeah, and it has not. Yeah, and the appraiser, their report may. The report may be different for the appraiser, but the value is the value.
Right.
So, Kara, did we get you back?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and what people don't understand is, can you hear me?
Yes.
We hear you.
We hear
Yeah?
you. You're good.
Okay. So, even though FHA requires certain repairs, that doesn't mean that conventional lenders are not going to require the same repairs as well.
Thank you.
Correct.
So some of them,
Thank
even
you.
though it's on FHA, they still follow FHA guidelines. So they're still just as strict. So it's just a matter of what repairs are going to, what repairs the house has basically, but the value is the same.
Right.
You still have, you can have a bare wire hanging out of the ceiling on an FHA. So are you saying conventional may point that out as well?
Oh yeah, they'll still say, hey, I want you to go back and fix that. They'll make me make it subject to.
Right. So,
and they'll make them actually fix that, because some, because some of them still like those repairs fixed.
Thank you for saying that. I have been saying that for years when people say that, oh, FHA is too strict. And I say to them, you know what? Conventional is not, much less on the strict side. Nobody wants a piece of junk. Yeah.
Yeah, no. They're sometimes way more strict, and so, but definitely that's funny, though. I've seen that, too, where but you're right. They have that myth of value. I think there's just so many myths out there, and I don't know, it makes me sad that, there's a lot of realtors and people that just don't understand.
Well, we have 60,000 new agents here in the state in the last couple of years. So people are all getting in the real estate business. And, DeLynn and I have been lending for most of our lives. But, it's only been 2 years for me, so that's most of my life. But it's been 3 for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know Kara's been doing appraisals for a very long time as well, and also has her real estate license. So she definitely has her ears to the market and what's going on, and very sensitive to it. So what if there is anything that you can tell us that you're seeing that maybe people should be doing more of?
What can help them? What brings in value? Is it the azaleas in bloom in the front yard? I mean, that's what I heard. I actually heard that from an agent one day. He goes, but the azaleas are beautiful on this property in the front yard. And I'm like, okay. And he's thinking that's going to bring in more value. I'm like,
I take
are
it
they
it's
white
not the,
or are they pink?
I take it it's not the azaleas, right, Kara? Look at her laughing.
People will literally show me their lemon trees, and they'll show me, all their special plants that they have in their yard, which is great. But, the thing right now with the supply being so low, people just want it. So I don't think there's, I think it's just such a short supply, and there's just such a high demand. I don't think buyers are like, oh, I have to have this, I have to have that. But I do think it's important that you are competing, which I'm noticing now that a lot of people are actually doing a lot of remodeling. Through all this whole COVID, people are doing all kinds of stuff to their properties, and obviously there's months to get anything done, but they also have to compete. So sometimes they think that their house is competing, and everything around them is in really great condition. And so I think kitchens and bathrooms are always a plus. Like, I feel like those are big things, but windows, that seems to be a big thing right now too. So even if you didn't have your kitchen done, you've got some windows, that's a huge bonus. So
windows add value.
I had to debate for the same thing as far as, gosh, my kitchen and bathrooms aren't updated, but I have, new windows, I have a new AC unit and a new roof. And it's like, those are big things. So they're almost very similar.
Can I ask you the big question we have right now? Solar panels.
Oh.
Solar panels. I spent $40,000. Don't crash over this, okay? $40,000 on solar panels. That adds $40,000 of value. Is that true?
No. The problem with solar panels right now is there's not enough data right now. Everybody's doing it, and everybody's like, oh, I should get this, I know, and it's very opinionated as far as what kind of adjustment, because my goal is to find something that is comparable, that is solar. It's hard for me to go out 10 or 15 miles to find a solar home that's comparable to yours with a totally different market. So I have to know that the neighborhood is accepting solar panels. It's common in there. Even if it didn't sell last year, at least I know that they are common in there. But to actually give an opinion of value for them, they obviously have to be owned. And I know there's an issue as far as, does that solar, is it attached to the house, or is it attached to the person? How is that, how's that lien created towards that? So that's a factor. And there's, right now there's like different levels of solar too. And I've already appraised a house that had all this solar, and they were trying to refinance to pay it off, but it was junk. Oh. They literally was getting no benefit from it. So it's like one of the things where I think right now the market's, I see it happening. I see people going solar. I drive around. I see more solar. So I know that it is the year of it happening. I just know that value-wise, I don't think you're going to see much return out of it. I don't think it's going to take a while. It's going to take a couple of years to see what kind of, value is a typical buyer willing to pay for that. You got to remember, it's not cost. Is that buyer willing to pay more for that? Are they going to say, hey, okay, I have a $300 solar payment, but I don't have an electric bill now? Well, if that evens out, is that really a benefit? Is that buyer saying, oh, I'd rather do that? Because if it's a 20 or 30 loan, then, when that person sells in 15 years, sometimes I don't know if that's something that's worth value. And that's the big golden question right now.
The big thing we're seeing, especially on the refinances, is like you said, is it attached to the real property? Because we're finding some that are attached to the real property, and there's some that are attached to the person. If they're attached to the person, people could physically remove them from the roof, which means there's no value in terms of the home. If they are attached to the property, then yes, there could be value there. So that's where, and we don't know that when we're getting into a deal, whether it's attached to the property or to the homeowner. People will say, no, it's not attached to my property, and then we find they are. People will say, oh, the salesman told me this, so whatever the salesman told them.
The salesmen are just like selling whatever the person wants to hear. You know what I mean? Because we're seeing them two different ways. Either they're attached to real estate as a lien.
I think they're getting they actually like a 2.3% increase. I think in California they're actually able to extract the value. I know you can go on income approach too, and I think there are some appraisers that are doing solar, and they are able to actually adjust some value. Is it what they're paying for it? I doubt it's even half. But
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's not. Again, we have seen some appraisers that are absolutely adjusting for it, but you're right. It is not dollar for dollar.
It's kind of like putting in a swimming pool. Just because you spent $75,000 on this awesome swimming pool doesn't mean you're getting $75,000 in value. And
and that's what people don't understand.
Yeah, we want to get the message out, so we're glad that you're sharing this information with us, because we really want to educate people and spread the word on really what's going on in the real market. So we're grateful we get to come to the source with you on what's going on. I mean, you're out there in the trenches every day. So is your volume up over like all time?
I'm doing I'm almost double to tripling how many I've ever done, and it's every single week. Like I said, it is the busiest I have ever seen it. Even the hybrid reports. I mean, people everywhere. I mean, it is. I mean, people are refinancing home equity. I mean, houses that I don't even see that. I know where they're at. I'm like, wow, they're doing. I mean, I feel like everybody's taking part of the market right now. Everybody.
In some way. And it's funny, on the lending side, we're seeing more appraisal waivers, even on not just refinances, but on purchases than we have ever seen. And, we find that if we put in a value close to what Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac is looking for, then we may get an appraisal waiver. And you never saw them on purchases. So imagine that. Probably, what do you think, a third of our orders right now?
At least I'd say a third of them are appraisal waivers. And it used to be only if the person, had a ton of equity in their house or something like that, we would get an appraisal waiver where we wouldn't have to order an appraisal. No, we had one on a purchase 5% down. The buyer was putting 5%, but the house was priced right.
Yes.
So when we put it through Fannie Mae's system, Fannie Mae said, yep, we agree with that value. No appraisal necessary. See, if it's priced right,
great.
Isn't it?
and there's probably going to be a lot more, because I know there's a lot of data this year. I mean, between the market, the data this year is going to be tremendous. So you're probably going to have way more waivers, I would think, because there's going to have more credible data, and the system's going to be
That's true.
And
That's
way more reliable.
Right.
Well, it started, honestly, more when COVID first hit, because I think what happened was Fannie and Freddie said, wow, appraisals aren't going to want to go into houses right now. We're not going to be able to get them to go out. So I think they loosened up their system some, and it's kind of just stuck. That's just my opinion, but that's when we noticed and we started getting the memos about the appraisal waivers being more frequent. And I know that there's always going to be a need for what you do and that hands-on approach, but the electronic system.
Half of my appraisals, I'm not even doing inspections on. I am so busy doing these other appraisals that I'm not even setting foot on the property. I'm not even, yeah. So I think it's becoming, very common. And
So you're doing more drive-bys?
And it's not obviously for every house either.
Okay. Are you doing more drive-by appraisals? Are you doing more drive-by appraisals, Kara?
A lot of desktops, actually.
Desktops, okay.
Which I think is because of the COVID.
Because of COVID.
I think that's big.
VA has gone to that as well. VA is doing desktop appraisals as well, things like that. So,
I mean, I got no problem going in houses. I do just as many. I just noticed that there is, like you said, there's a lot of drive-bys. There's a lot of different options out there. So, I mean, they're all requiring appraisals. It's just limited scope of work. So, and like I said, every house is not doesn't fit that puzzle every time. Some houses are very unique, and they, I always, tell people you should get a full-blown appraisal if you're a waterfront or you're high-end or your property's a little unique where you sit, because some of those products out there, it's going to impact.
right.
Wow,
right.
awesome. Kara,
thank you for being with us today. I know that you're like parked in someone's driveway. I can tell. Probably getting
And it's funny? I have to give a shout out to appraisals because it's kind of like realtors. Realtors work really hard at what they do. Mm-hmm. People think they just show up at closings and they get paid, and we know there's more to it. And they think the same thing about appraisers. That appraiser was in my house 5 minutes and I paid $450.
I know.
I'm like, you have no idea of the data and research they have to do before they ever come out to your house, trying to figure this out.
We look at hundreds of houses. I mean, we go in several of them, and with the COVID, I don't want to touch nothing.
Yes,
yeah.
I don't blame you. Well,
I'm faster. My inspections are way faster now, but I don't need to. I mean, I'm not a home inspector. I am a data cruncher.
Right.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kara. We appreciate you being with us.
She's a great...
Have a good day.
You too, hon.
Yep,
take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Awesome. All right, let's. You know what? We got an upcoming Lunch and Learn coming up, DeLynn. Do you know the date of that?
We do. No, I don't, but I can see you're on your phone, so you're looking it up. So I'll just sit here and entertain. So that was really good information. Thank you, Kara Christensen. She is with J Appraisals. If you would like her information, we can certainly get that to you. Oh, there it is up on our screen. How about that? And she is wonderful to bounce things off of, as you can see. Very hardworking, and like I said, been in the community her whole life. So she really has a good ear to the market.
Our next Lunch and Learn, October 13th, via Zoom. You don't want to miss it. We have Michael with Alpha Credit coming on. We're going to teach you about credit and how to make sure it's right, because guidelines we know have tightened up on it, and that'll be our next show. So.
He is very good at what he does. Yeah,
he's
good
helped
information.
Us a lot. Thanks everybody for watching our show. Don't forget, share this information, get it out there, like it.
Thank you, everyone, for watching We Are Today and Every Day.
Moving forward.
See you next week.
Have a great week.